Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spent. Take another look now and take some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yeah, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 barrels of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rest. Well, right now it's time for hemp.
Thank you for taking Time for Hemp. I'm your host, Casper-Leitch. You are listening to Time for Hemp all around the world on timeforhemp.com, Tumblr, SoundCloud, iTunes, iHeartRadio, anywhere people get together and share their buds and like to take Time for Hemp. Big shout out to all of my friends in Germany. Thank you for the letters that you send me. And of course, a big shout out to KDK Distributors in Canada and Headshot Canada for the grants they give us to keep us loud, proud, and strong. A big thank you to all of our sponsors, you know, Paul Stanford and Serious Seeds and Indigrow, all the help you've given us, we really do appreciate. You can find all of our archives from all of our hosts on their biography pages. So make it a point to go and check out the illustrious team of people who are working around the clock to let the world know how important it is to take Time for Hemp. My joint host today, Peter Criss, and I are saluting his illustrious organization known as Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. And he and I have an illustrious friend on the line, a joint friend. Remember, anytime you hear the word joint on the big broadcast, everybody likes to hit their bongs, their pipes, their vaporizers, and take Time for Hemp. Lenny Frieling, we have you as a joint guest, and my joint host, Peter Criss. Good morning. Thank you. I pass the buck to you.
Good. You know, there's a word for people that think that they're actually a group of people. I think it's called schizophrenia.
We agree. We agree.
And Lenny, I've been dying to talk to you. I no longer have to go to Amsterdam to do my experiment, and maybe you can answer my question for me. And that question is, does smoking marijuana make you paranoid because when you're smoking it, you're afraid people are going to arrest you? Or when you're smoking it in a place where nobody's going to arrest you, does it not make you feel paranoid? Lenny.
One of the effects of marijuana at times, especially if you smoke too much of something that's too strong or eat too much of an edible, it can produce some anxiety as a side effect. And you wait 5 minutes and it's gone. What I think when I hear what you're saying is I never really understood what marginalized meant until we legalized, and then it was a blinding light realizing that for so many years I had been marginalized, even to myself in my own mind. And the legalization took me beyond that. It took what's normal and made it feel normal.
Yeah.
The breakthrough is huge on an individual level and on a societal level.
Yeah, we've talked before, so I know you know my fears, and my fears are that I think that what we're going to see happen is that in the next 12 months, the current administration is going to move marijuana from Schedule 1 to either Schedule 2 or 3. This will now make marijuana legal on the federal level, under the prescription drug program, but legal, okay? And then I'm saying that I think at the next EPA conference, we're going to have maybe about half as many people there, and we're going to have a little lull in the movement, and then all of a sudden we're going to start hearing in a couple years this, and it's going to be, hey, wait a minute, you said if we legalize this stuff, that the crime would go away, but we still got the cartels, we still got the gangs, and then we're going to have to get back to the argument about prohibition all over again. The only good thing about it is I don't see any of these drugs that anybody wants to pick up and defend like the people that want to defend marijuana. So therefore, we may actually talk about the failure of the policy rather than the drugs. Is that too much stuff?
The problem reminds me of the problem we created with alcohol prohibition. Once we funded the Rockefellers and the Capones, the money didn't go away. It was too late. We'd created criminal enterprises and we'd created families of immense wealth that did many good things, but we can't go back. We can't undo the damage that this war has done. Once you blow up a cathedral during World War II, it's blown up.
Yep.
Damage has been done. There are casualties. We can limit the amount of additional damage that's done. That's a step in the right direction. But, for example, once a Mexican or a south of the border cartel is funded, established, staffed, taken over cities, and then gone into the kidnapping business because the war on drugs, which of course is a war on our own people, not a war on drugs, the war on drugs put them in business, funded them, set them up. They've expanded, they've diversified, and do we now blame the kidnapping, for example, on legalizing? No, we blame it on the war on drugs, which is what gave it its initial public offering, its initial funding.
Right.
So we're in this undoing process. How do we minimize damage? And if you said, Lenny, what is the single most important thing we could do going forward to minimize damage? Very simple. Get rid of private prisons. They can't be permitted to exist. They're an abomination.
Yep.
It's the single biggest step we can take.
Yeah, it's interesting. When we legalized alcohol, one of the things we did was, and it helped the mobs and the gangsters, is we left a lot of our other consensual crime laws in effect, prostitution, gambling. I believe that if you get police in our society out of the morality policing business and just get them on the streets enforcing laws that are protecting people from other people doing them harm, I think that over time there's not going to be much money in the kidnapping business.
Well, there will certainly be a trained force called the police,
right,
that are properly motivated, driven by laws that make sense and not laws that make no sense, so that when we have those real crimes, we have some of the tools and the people and the dedication to at least begin to attack, to continue to fight that battle. And that's a battle we have to fight. It's a battle that makes sense. And, for example, and I'm making this up, but I think I'm right, once world attention got focused on Somalia pirates, we made progress.
Oh, yeah.
I believe it is accurate that today Somalian pirates are less of a piracy problem than they were 5 years ago.
Yeah, well, the big thing about it is when you have law enforcement in the streets and everybody is very clear on why they are there, and why they are there is to protect people from other people harming them. I know this sounds strange, but the public actually helps us do that.
Absolutely, the public wants to like police officers. They really do. The war on drugs made that impossible. The woman in blue comes knocking on the door, and the first thought was, oh man, did I leave a roach in an ashtray? Sorry, you're not welcome in my home.
Yeah.
Now, officer, can I make you a cup of tea? It won't be laced with anything, you're working. But can I make you a cup of tea? Please come in the house. It's so good to see you.
Yep. It's where I saw that, and it made a big impression on me, was that Boston Marathon bombing. two things about that. One was they did a lot of what would definitely be termed illegal searches of houses when they were looking for that bomber. But what interested me was I heard of not one ancillary arrest. And I can't believe out of all those houses they went into, somebody didn't see a roach or a bong or something sitting there. But those cops knew they were looking for the bomber, and they didn't give a damn about that. And the second thing was when they were pulling their people off the scene, the people of Boston were standing in the streets and applauding them and thanking them for what they did. That doesn't happen when you do a drug raid.
I had a client who had a small grow in a greenhouse. Police officers were chasing an insane, literally, clinically insane, armed with a large knife guy running through backyards. As part of doing that, they looked into my client's shed window and saw his grow and ended up busting him for the grow. My client's attitude was, I'll deal with that. That's my problem. But you bet I wanted them looking in my shed. You bet I wanted them going after that criminal. And now the client can do the right thing the same way and not have to hire me to get him through that part of it. Now, to their credit, the DA's attitude on that case was commendable. In Colorado, for a while now, the police agencies have treated crimes against medical marijuana centers, grows, as crime. It's not a different attitude. Oh, that was a marijuana grow that was broken into. That's not like a house getting broken into. They're treating it like crime. It's heartwarming. Not that there is any such crime. It's a slimy thing to do. But that the police are stepping up to bat, the prosecutors are stepping up to bat, and they're...
I kind of feel like probably the women did in 1920 when they finally got the right to vote. But then I'd like to remind people that the women got the right to vote in 1920, and the real women's rights movement didn't start until about 1960. So I think that we have to deal with that also. We have to get that moved up.
Well, you're still echoing, Peter, so we're going to figure out why that is on the commercial break. We are going to pay our bills, and then after we pay our bills, we're going to listen to a song about how fantastic marijuana is. It's one of my favorites. It's the Marijuana Polka, and we're going to jam out to it here at Time for Hemp.
Well, high bow, good green reefer, big fat don't be much, much sweeter. Hide it, don't hide it. Hide it, don't hide it. Just light it, don't hide it. Hide it, don't hide it. Well, light it, don't hide it. Fire it up right now.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio.
Medical clinics are the premier physician's clinic in the United States. THCF has offices all across the United States from Hawaii to Michigan. THCF Medical Clinics has helped approximately 150,000 patients obtain their medical marijuana permits to legally possess, grow, and use medical marijuana. If you have chronic pain, multiple sclerosis, or any other neurological degenerative disease, or if you have any gastrointestinal disorders such as GERD, irritable bowel syndrome, or if you have AIDS, cancer, spastic disorders, seizure disorders, or glaucoma, Call us at 1-800-723-0188 or visit us online at hemp.org. Again, the number is 1-800-723-0188 and the site is hemp.org.
At Crop King Seeds, we sell the finest marijuana seeds in the world. Grown organically with original genetics, every seed is cultivated for large yields, high THC content, and measured for both CBD and CBN levels. Did we mention we sell more than 20 of the world's best marijuana strains in feminized, auto-flowering, medical, and regular varieties, including White Widow, Blueberry, Purple Kush, Haze Extreme, and so many more. Through our website and friendly call support team, our seeds are available for direct order with speedy worldwide shipping. Crop King Seeds are also sold in over 100 locations worldwide.
Excuse me, I'm looking to buy some Crop King seeds.
Look no further, my friend.
Wow, they're here and in so many strains.
Buy your seeds now, in-store or online at cropkingseeds.com. Or call us toll-free at 1-844-CROP-KING. That's 1-844-276-7546.
Sometimes you just need to take time to watch the grass grow. That's why the Time for Hemp Broadcasting Network is growing multiple cannabis gardens for you to enjoy 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, streaming live in high definition. Watch our gardens to learn how to grow yours. Visit timeforhemp.com right now. The Time for Hemp Broadcasting Network, where we don't just talk about growing cannabis, we do it.
How would you like to have all the best cannabis info all in one place? Canafo.com is the Google, Facebook, and Craigslist of cannabis. It even has its own social media platform. Canafo.com puts the world of medicinal and recreational cannabis in one place for consumers, businesses, and growers. Canafo.com is a free service where you can find over 9,000 different strains of cannabis, shop cannabis classifieds, and much more. Canafo.com is the world's most comprehensive source for all things cannabis. Get in the know with Canafo.
1, 2, 3, 4. Get right to the point and roll me a joint, a marijuana polka. Find me a dove and we'll call it love, a marijuana polka. Lick me your dick and we'll get off real quick, a marijuana polka. My baby and I will get so high to the marijuana polka. Now roll me a smoke, yeah, give me a toast, the marijuana polka. Lock up the doors and we'll wax up the floors, the marijuana polka. Yeah, give me a line and we'll dance all night, the marijuana polka. My baby and I will get so high to the marijuana polka. sí. La marihuana polka. Federales, oh no, federales, oh no. La marihuana polka. Tequila es bien, la noche también. La marihuana polka. Mi linda y yo somos bichatos. La marihuana polka. My baby and I will get so high to the marijuana, the marijuana, the marijuana polka.
That was the Marijuana Polka, one of my favorite songs. Anytime I hear that song, it makes me want to just kick my heels up and dance around the house. I want to thank you for enjoying Time for Hemp Live with us here on the big broadcast. You'll find this show 10 to 11 a.m. Pacific Standard Time every Monday through Friday. And then you'll also discover we have a whole day worth of broadcasting that follows this broadcast every day. So make it a point to let your friends know how important it is to come and check out the Time for Hemp Broadcasting Network at timeforhemp.com. Today we are having a joint discussion with my joint host, Peter Criss, who's put together a great organization known as Law Enforcement Against Prohibition, and we are having a great joint chat with one of our joint friends, former Judge Leonard Frieling, and he's also hanging out there in a place called Colorado, and there's been some exciting things there. And I tell you, Leonard, being there on the front lines of all this has got to be just a history experience that you could not, if you even tried, make happen in a lifetime. You seem kind of blessed, kind of lucky from my point of view.
I see it the same way. When I realized I was the right person at the right time, in the right place, it felt like being Patton. Not that I was the general, not that I was the leader, but it felt like my entire existence was so that knowing what I know, with the experience I have and the skills that I bring to the table, that I could contribute. And I felt blessed, not a word I use often, but I did. I ended up in a position where I could help affect change, meaningful change, change that helps large groups of people. How fortunate can one be then to have the opportunity to do something that helps large groups of people?
Absolutely, absolutely. And such a long time coming. And also, there's got to be a certain amount of joy in knowing you were right.
Now, do you think
I always like being right.
Now, Your Honor,
well, that's what I was just going to say, because you've been told by all your friends, and you're crazy, that'll never happen. And all of a sudden you can look at them. I don't say to anybody, I told you so. I just look at them and smile.
Yeah, but you're more mature than I am. I predicted 6 months early that there'd be retail sales in Denver on the 1st of January. I did not find one person in the movement who agreed with me. They 100% disagreed strongly and thought I was crazy, which I am, but they thought I was crazy for insisting we were going to be up for business January 1st.
Right.
I'll do what Peter would do. I'm just sitting here smiling.
Now, Your Honor, I got to ask you this. It started at the end of the month, and all the sales are happening, and, this is what the voters wanted, and this is what the politicians in the state say are going to happen. Well, now, how does the governor and the DEA abide by the rules? How is the DEA? How are the Fed boys keeping their fingers out of this? Or are they going to send the IRS and say that you can't do business? I don't care what your state says. This is a Schedule 1. They're going to leave us alone and just let it happen. What do you think?
There are two different answers. One answer is short term, which I would call 3 months to a year, and long term, longer than a year. During the next 3 months to a year, we'll see periodic raids by the feds, which will at least be spun, maybe honestly, maybe not, hopefully honestly, to appear to be targeting grows that, while on the surface are legal, if you really look at them, 3/4 of the product goes out of state. There'll be the stories we read in the papers that will be along those lines, which will be the feds asserting their authority, and the state. It is critical to keep the feds out that the state appears to be enforcing the laws robustly. We've been told, that word was used 1 million times on August 25th. We need a robust system. And if the system doesn't bust anybody, it's hard to say it's robust. So the state has to be doing something. If they do their job well, it will focus on things like people selling to children, people whose primary goal is shipping out of state, the priorities from the Federal Attorney General's office. So, yes, there'll be people busted. Hopefully the greatest percentage will be the ones that are most, operating the most not consistently, bad English, sorry, who are not operating consistently with the federal priorities. We don't need to be giving them any excuses. So during the transition period, we're going to see sporadic busts at different levels and IRS seizures and the like, and things will settle out. And within a year or two, it will be more and more like any other business, except we'll have benefits like, and this is something we have to be very careful of. When some fool thinks we need a bill that says you can't buy marijuana with food stamps, we have to be certain that hemp food can be purchased with food stamps, because there aren't many foods on the planet that give you more bang for the buck, and it's a good educational opportunity.
It's what do you think about my thing that the federal government's going to back away from this thing by simply removing marijuana to Schedule 2 or 3?
I believe that absolutely will happen. I'm not going to predict what schedule, but it will happen. It's going to happen, I predict, in the lowest key way that it can happen. And I'm not certain which method they're going to use, and I'm not an expert in that area either. Mm-hmm. But it has to happen. We know they hold the patents on an antioxidant medical benefit of at least one cannabinoid held by the United States government for the Department of Human Resources. The government agency issued a patent which is held by the U.S. government. Pretty hard to keep a straight face and tell a judge that it has no real use. Well, did the patent office commit fraud by issuing a patent for something that's impossible? Doesn't sound right.
It's what I look at is the situation that happened with the, depending on where you are on the issue, either the baby-killing pill or the morning after pill. We decided to make it legal under the prescription drug program, and then about 3 years ago, after seeing it that way, the Food and Drug Administration moved it to Schedule 4, so now you don't need a prescription. And what I'm thinking is that the most logical move for the FDA to make to take all the discussion out of this is to simply reschedule marijuana. Keep everything else in Schedule 1. And then, as I always like to ask, and where exactly does the federal government get the power to have a Schedule 1? But that's a whole other different discussion.
I think they have to go to 4 because of Washington and Colorado and other states that will follow. Mm-hmm. You can't put the genie back in the bag. I know we've put prohibition in twice, and I don't want to say never, but I think Pandora's box is open. I think the genie's out of the bottle. I think we're talking Schedule 4. I think once it's recreational, and that will spread. The numbers, Alan St. Pierre of NORML was on Crossfire CNN the other day, and his pro marijuana position won the debate 84%. It's moving faster than people realize it's moving.
Well, people are getting it, and it's like anything else. It's the first thing that people do is hear the noise, and then they start to listen to what the words are, And the noise has been made. Now the words are getting more and more important, and I'm hoping it's going to go that way. But I'm telling you, I still have my fears that we got at least another 20, 25 years ahead of us. I'll be dead by then. But of this stupid prohibition stuff. I don't see. I really am not enlightened that it's ahead. I think we've focused too much on the single marijuana issue, and we have not focused enough on the fundamental mala prohibitum aspect of the laws.
I think a problem, a challenge that we need to think through is how do we, LEAP, help the people in SSDP and MPP and DPA and NORML and all these wonderful groups. How do we take them to the next level so that they can continue what they're so good at with a greater, broader understanding and not lose their... After Vietnam, there was a great fear, which I think turned out to be true, that everyone would go home, job's done, nothing else to do. And it happened. If we can avoid that, if we can move our movers and shakers into the LEAP world, that's a challenge that I think it's time to start facing, start pondering.
It's interesting when the first conference I ever went to was a NORML conference. That's because it's the only organization I knew about. That was back in '89. And when I went to that conference, I met people that had just come from a conference for a group that was then called DPF, Drug Policy Foundation. And what's interesting about that group that Zeiss and Trebeck put together back in the late 80s, that group was about policy of prohibition. They weren't about the drugs. They were just about the policy of prohibition. Other stuff spun off of that, and by about the middle of the 90s, the marijuana people had taken over the movement, and now all of a sudden, I was told all through the 90s that I shouldn't use the L word. I'm talking about people at the conferences told me not to talk about legalization. We're talking about regulate. We're just talking about don't use the L. And I'm thinking that's the only issue I have, and you're telling me to be quiet about it. I can't do that, and I haven't stopped. And what's interesting is, and just one little thing that I came across just the other day struck me. When I first started this movement back in '89, when I first retired, I would talk to people about ending prohibition, and almost every person I would say it to would say, prohibition? Well, that's been over since the 30s. And then I would have to explain to them that what we're doing with drugs is another form of prohibition. In the last 10 years, I use the word prohibition in front of people. Nobody ever mentions alcohol. They know exactly what I'm talking about. And I like to think that that's a change that we made, the definition of that word, and also the change in the definition of the word legalize. Legalize does not mean control. Legalize means regulate.
Well, here's what we need right now to take a commercial break so we can pay our bills to keep this voice loud and proud and broadcasting all around the world so everybody knows how important it is to end the prohibition and take time for hemp.
Well, now, chocolate cake makes my poor stomach ache, and all those pills are too much for me to take. I don't like cocaine cause it makes me all uptight, but coffee and reefer makes me feel alright. Crystal meth will make you high, and it's cheap.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio.
Indigrow is your source for affordable induction grow lighting. First discovered in 1891 by Nikola Tesla, Indigrow lights deliver 11 years of electronic sunlight to your plants. Indigrow lamps require less than half the power of traditional HID lamps. Converting to Indigrow lights means you'll cut down on your power bill with less lighting. Indigrow lamps also use 5 times less mercury than traditional fluorescent or HID lamps, making Indigrow not only energy efficient but environmentally friendly as well. No more switching out lamps between vegetative and flowering stages. As nature intended, your lights get a steady dose of UV light. That makes your plants grow healthier and stronger. Indigrow products are manufactured in San Diego, California, and come with a written 10-year warranty. What Tesla knew, then growers know now, is that Indigrow lighting is the cost-effective addition to your victory garden. To learn more or order now, go to inda-grow.com. That's INDA-GRO.com, or call 877-452-2244 to answer any of your questions. These guys really know lights. Indigrow really is your sunlight in a box. Serious Seeds is your source for quality cannabis and sativa seeds. Serious Seeds are the creators of legendary strains like AK-47, Bubblegum, Chronic, Cali Mist, and White Russian. The AK-47 is probably the most awarded strain on the planet. The high THC content of AK-47 makes it the perfect medical strain for patients seeking quick pain relief. Cali Mist is an almost pure sativa. Female medical cannabis patients have reported that this strain helps relieve menstrual cramps. Serious Seeds just acquired another Dutch high-quality seed bank, Magus Genetics. From now on, Serious Seeds can offer you even more award-winning strains. The fine folks at Serious Seeds strive to breed the best cannabis genetics that they can find, so patients can rely on the effectiveness of their medicine. Go to SeriousSeeds.com to grow your medicine. That site again is SeriousSeeds.com.
'Cause it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing I don't live too far. I'd never make it home. When I'm driving down the highway, when I ride the couch alone. Oh, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. I'm waiting for my girlfriend to come over. I'm in the mood to roll a big cigar. It's a good thing there's a store up on the corner. It's a good thing that my girlfriend has a car. 'Cause it's 2 joints to the shopping mall and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing I don't live too far. I'd never make it home. When I'm driving down the highway, when I ride the couch alone. Oh, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing there's a store at every exit. I need papers or a bowl or something sweet. I got cotton mouth and munchies. I suspect it's from the weed. So I guess we're pulling off again to eat. 'Cause it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing I don't live too far. I'd never make it home. Like a spider to a fly, like every dog must have his bone. Oh, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. Remember last year when we drove both near and far? We were stopping every hour. I couldn't get you back in the car. It's a good thing since California became medical. 'Cause buying at dispensaries is great.
Give me the space cakes.
It doesn't help me often out on the highway, but they take my card in 7 other states.
That can be important.
So it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. It's a good thing I don't live too far. I'd never make it home. When I'm driving down the highway, when I ride the couch alone. Oh, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. Yes, it's 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. 2 joints to Memphis and a ½ ounce to San Antonio. Ooh, I need to score before the long ride back.
Have you visited timeforhemp.com? We're doing something special you'll love to see. We're presenting a live stream of multiple cannabis gardens around the clock in high definition. Come see it now. Lots of people talk about growing cannabis. We do it. Join our growing audience to get inspired by our crops to learn how to cultivate yours. Because at Time for Hemp, we plant seeds of wisdom so we can harvest buds of truth.
At Crop King Seeds, we sell the finest marijuana seeds in the world, including White Widow, Blueberry, Purple Kush, Haze Extreme, and so many more. Our seeds are available for direct order with speedy shipping. Crop King Seeds are also sold in over 100 locations worldwide.
Excuse me, I'm looking to buy some Crop King seeds.
Look no further, my friend.
Wow, they're here and in so many strains.
Buy your seeds now, in-store or online at cropkingseeds.com.
Consciousness, be responsible. That's what we say. The side of a pill bottle tells you, use responsibly, do not drive heavy equipment or your vehicle while taking this medication until you know how this medication affects you, which, you know, here's the thing. You got to be responsible. And if you're responsible, there's nobody's business what you do. And I think there's a book out there called something like that, and you need to check that out too. And we are on a program today with a joint host by the name of Peter Chris, who put together an organization who believes that it ain't nobody's business what you do, as long as what you do behind closed door with consenting adults. So hello, we have come a long way, and Your Honor, I tell you, it tickles the heck out of me to see amazing people like you on the same team. When did you wake up one day and go, whoa, this prohibition's a bunch of crap, and you know marijuana's not that bad? Jesus, what the hell's going on here?
Long before this century. Can I give a shout out?
Yes.
Certainly.
walkordrive.com. walkordrive.com. We have come up with an iPhone, iPad app to help somebody make the drive, don't drive decision. We worked, my buddy is an expert in human behavior, and I'm an expert in impairment. And between the two of us, we've come up by looking at reaction time, time perception, balance, and memory, comparing it to your own sober baseline and giving you a clue to help people make responsible drive, don't drive decisions. We want people to use it. We want safe drivers. And for that matter, if you're going to use your table saw, you might want to run walk or drive before running your table saw, too.
Nice. And, Your Honor, you might have asked that company to consider advertising on our network to help us keep strong, loud, and proud. And I do think it's cool that you turned in your robe and you just turned your back on a long career because you'd had your belly full of these nonsensical laws.
I'm not cut out to be a judge. I don't like judging other people. I like helping other people. I'm not a government guy. Blame it on my father, but I'm an anti-government kind of guy. I like fighting for the little guy. That's just me.
Well, hey, you both know what a hypocrite I am. I only became a cop because of the 20-year retirement. I was not interested in doing a job, and it wasn't a big deal for me. But when I saw a chance to only work for 20 years and be able to be free to do with my life what I wanted to do, that's what got me sold on police work, and it worked well for me. And just so people know, and I've said this before on the show, but I am the definition of the word hypocrite because I came to my conclusion about this drug policy before I became a cop. So it wasn't that I didn't go into police work to enforce drug laws. I went into police work to get a 20-year retirement, but I looked at it as a job where I was going to be protecting people from other people harming them, and that's what I spent most of my career doing.
So, do you work pro bono for people who are, busted for pot, can't afford it, they got a couple of kids, they got a future ahead of them, and what they're dealing with is just silly, or do you just send them to organizations, or do you give them advice and then just wish them luck, or how do you handle it there in the community? How do you move forward sometimes in some of the stuff you're looking at? Because there's a lot of crap in the world, Your Honor. I mean, you can only do so much.
Yes, but you can do so much. Yeah. And if everybody only did so much, the problem would be solved and we'd skip on down. Yeah. And I hate using the atomic bomb as an example, but at the end of World War II, when the United States needed a Manhattan Project to solve a problem, we focused our energies on it, we solved the problem. If we put that type of energy into solving a problem, we're Americans. We can do what we set our minds to.
And the thing is that we got to realize that in a free society, you're going to see things that you don't like a whole lot. But as long as they're not being done to you, people have a right to do it. And that's the benefit we get of living in a free society. And I think we've lost sight of that in some respects when it comes to these kind of laws. You know, we're trying to regulate the morality in society and using the criminal justice system to do it. And it's not a function. Go ahead.
Think about the length of the First Amendment, how many words are in the First Amendment, and then look at how many words it took in Amendment 64 to amend the Colorado Constitution to re-legalize marijuana for private use. The First Amendment is about the length of the introductory paragraph to the marijuana law.
Right.
That doesn't make sense.
Right, exactly. And it's
well, it's time to wrap it up here. We are now ready for a round robin of shout-outs of URLs, friends, organizations, and events coming up. And we'll start with our joint guest, Leonard.
Thanks. I'm going to say walk or drive. Let's demonstrate responsibility. And the beauty is walk or drive doesn't care if you're drinking, if you're tired, if it's a half a joint and 3/4 of a fantastic microbrew Colorado 8% IPA ale. It doesn't care. It just looks at how you're performing. Let's be responsible. The worst impairment? No, probably a half an hour to an hour and a half after vaporizing.
Beautiful.
Let's do it right.
And the website one more time is
walkordrive.com.
And we
correct.
We love having you as a guest on our show. Seriously, they might consider being an advertiser on the network. We'd love to have them. Peter?
Casper, first thing I want to do, and I want to make sure, and I haven't said this in a while, I want to thank you for sharing your audience with us. This is a wonderful opportunity to give us to speak to a lot of people in this movement. Website, leap.cc, copsaylegalizedrugs.com. As you said before, and I try to say this at the end of every show, bad things happen because good people stay silent. Don't stay silent.
Exactly.
Yes, thank you.
Exactly, Peter. You're absolutely right. And that's what we're trying to do here at the Time for Hemp Broadcasting Network, is to not only not be silent, but raise such a loud noise that is impossible to ignore us. And we ask that you let all your friends know all around the world how important it is to take time for hemp.
Look at all that money, yeah, the money that they spend. Take another look and spend some time for hemp. Don't cut trees for paper, cause it hurts the environment. Stop deforestation, yes, it's time for hemp. Whoa, an acre of hemp makes 20 bales of oil. No need for pesticides to poison all our soil. People got no food, they got no clothes, they got no rent. Well, time for hemp! Yeah!
It turns out that police officials are increasingly ignoring violent crimes, and they are using all of their resources to arrest and prosecute people who have possession of marijuana. And there are significant incentives to do so.
Of course.
All right. So the Huffington Post actually did a really great report on this, and they lay out all of the different ways that police departments, local police departments, profit from arresting and prosecuting people who have possession of marijuana. So the first thing is that they get federal anti-drug grants, okay? And the way a police department is able to get those grants is if they can show that they have made a significant amount of arrests for marijuana and drug possession. All right, and this is a competitive thing. It's not like all police departments get it. You get this grant if you can show that you have arrested enough people.
All right, first of all, instantly, look at the incentive structure that they give you,
right?
Like, right or wrong, it's a real problem in your local community. It's not a problem in your local community. Who cares? You only get the money if you do our bidding, which is to arrest as many people for smoking marijuana and selling marijuana, et cetera, as possible. So, gee, I wonder why we got all these people locked up in jail, because they're literally getting paid to lock them up, and as much as possible. And then second of all, if you incentivize them to do that, obviously they're going to do that instead of other things.
Of course. Look, they're going to use all of their time and resources to arrest people when they know that arresting those individuals is going to mean that they're going to bring in money for doing so. So here's another example. When they suspect that someone might have possession of drugs, they can do something known as asset forfeiture. Okay, so for example, police can legally seize property from people merely suspected of drug crimes, and they can basically get a hold of the cash, and that cash goes back to the police department. It doesn't go back to the person who is arrested. When it comes to non-cash property, it's auctioned off, and that money goes back to the police department.
So, look, if you got raped or you got seriously assaulted and you lost an eye, etc., there's no profit in it for the cops. I mean, hopefully they'll get to it, right? But if you had a little bit of marijuana or cocaine or whatever in your Mercedes, hey, they got a Mercedes and they get money from the federal government. Wow, I wonder which one they're going to put more effort into.
Right, exactly. Look, there was a case of a woman in Chicago who was literally beaten to the point where she suffered a concussion. She woke up the following morning and she went to the police. The police didn't care, so she went and did her own investigation to find out who the attackers were. Then she went to the police and said, look, here are the attackers, the names of these people, where they live, please arrest them, arrest them. Finally, after bugging them, the Chicago police decided, all right, fine, we'll arrest these guys, but stop bitching about it.
Yeah, stop complaining that you were beaten unconscious. Look, it didn't involve drugs. Why would we care? Right, exactly. In fact, what she should have done instead of all that is, they beat me near death, plus I saw them smoking a joint. Then the cops are like, okay, we jump in it.
Exactly. Got to get those federal anti-drug grants. All right, and then the last way that these police departments make money is that drug dealers are forced to reimburse the police departments for the resources that they spent to arrest and prosecute. Mm-hmm. And that's only with drug-related crimes.
You're right. So again, if somebody came into your house they attacked your kids, they robbed you of your precious possessions. Well, since they don't have to pay it back to the cops, we'll get to it when we get to it, right? But you got a little bit of marijuana, let's make some money. You think this doesn't pervert how people, how those police departments react to these different crimes? You're crazy if you don't think that. Of course they respond to financial incentives.
And this is an increasing issue because if you look at the statistics, if you look at 1981 to 1995, there were a total of 33,775 marijuana arrests. However, between 1996 to 2010, there were more than 500,000 marijuana arrests.
Gee,
500,000.
Gee, I wonder if it had an effect. I can't quite tell.
You are listening to the Time for Hemp Global Broadcasting Network. The only broadcasting network dedicated to ending the global war on drugs on iHeartRadio.